Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to tackle what is arguably a property owner's absolute worst nightmare, a total sewer line failure. More specifically, we're going to break down exactly how you can navigate the incredibly complicated and, let's be honest, stressful costs of fixing it without completely draining your life savings. Because whether you're dealing with root intrusion, a collapsed pipe, or just those mysterious unexplained backups, the sheer panic of the repair bill is often way worse than the actual plumbing problem itself. Because let's be real, when you are staring down a massive sewer issue, there's really only one question on your mind. What is this going to cost in your exact situation? And the harsh truth, the one a lot of property owners unfortunately learn the hard way, is that the lowest upfront bid isn't always the cheapest final cost, not by a long shot. Pricing varies wildly based on things like your pipe's diameter, the depth of the trench, and the ground conditions. So we really need to look beyond that initial sticker price to understand what actually drives the budget. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the core sewer repair dilemma, then break down the costs for both trenchless and open excavation. After that, we'll show you how to choose the right method, highlight those sneaky hidden budget busters, and finally, learn how to get accurate apples-to-apples estimates. All right, jumping into Section 1, the sewer repair dilemma. 2 paths forward. As a general rule of thumb, trenchless repair is going to be your go-to method for localized damage. This is for when you really want to save your expensive landscaping and just avoid completely tearing up your property. On the flip side, open excavation handles the severe failures that demand a total replacement, or when the ground conditions simply won't allow for trenchless techniques. So really, it's a battle of surgical precision versus total replacement. Moving right along to Section 2, trenchless repair costs explained. Now, with trenchless methods, things like pipelining or pipe bursting, you are going to save heavily on driveway, sidewalk, and landscaping restoration. Why? Because there's just so much less surface disruption. But, and this is a big but, those savings are balanced out elsewhere. Your baseline costs go straight toward highly specialized equipment. This process also relies heavily on advanced camera mapping, which is absolutely essential to confirm the exact location and severity of the problem before they bring out the high-tech gear. You do, however, benefit from a smaller site management footprint, meaning less traffic control and less labor time. But hey, quick reality check here, and you really need to take this away with you. Just because trenchless avoids massive digging does not automatically mean it's the cheaper option. Actually, in many markets, trenchless carries a higher price per foot. That highly specialized equipment and material can significantly bump up your baseline cost, especially if your pipe runs are exceptionally long or if they have super complex alignments. Okay, Section 3, open excavation costs explained. Let's dig in. Conceptually, just digging a trench to replace a broken pipe seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, let me tell you, those expenses can climb rapidly the second the shovels actually hit the dirt. The real costs here are in the massive physical labor. You aren't just paying for a piece of plastic pipe, you're paying for heavy digging, installing the proper bedding, soil compaction, and the frankly exorbitant fees for hauling away tons of dirt. On top of the whole shebang, you have to account for traffic and safety measures like barriers and permits in shared access areas, plus the meticulous utility coordination required to locate and protect nearby pipes. And trust me, utility issues can cause massive labor delays. And the biggest red flag to watch out for? Restoration. If your property features expensive stamped concrete, a brand new paved driveway, or beautiful mature trees, open excavation is going to be materially more expensive than it first appears on paper. You have to realize you aren't just paying a plumber, you're essentially paying to rebuild the entire surface of your property from scratch once the pipe is finally laid. Which brings us to Section 4, choosing the best method for your specific situation. Here's a handy decision matrix for you. You'll want to go with trenchless when the damage is localized and you want to save that expensive hardscaping we just talked about, or when operational disruption really matters, like say you're managing occupied rental units or a busy commercial property. But you should absolutely pivot to open excavation if the pipe is severely collapsed, heavily misaligned, or just totally plagued by widespread root intrusion across multiple segments. Excavation also takes the win if your yard has minimal hardscaping, making resurfacing cheap and super manageable. All right, Section 5, avoiding hidden budget busters. Because no matter which method you ultimately choose, you absolutely must watch out for hidden costs. These act as major budget traps. They are those sneaky little details that can cause a completely manageable project to suddenly double in price halfway through the week. The lowest initial bid is very, very often a mirage. It frequently hides massive, entirely predictable expenses that will inevitably show up on your final bill. Basically, a cheap bid is usually just a bid with missing scope details.
So your final cost really hinges on four main traps. First up, the restoration scope. Are they just patching a small hole, or are they leaving you to rebuild an entire driveway yourself? Second, pipe geometry. Longer runs and difficult elevations dramatically increase labor and specialized installation time. Third, inspection surprises. Look, if the initial camera inspection wasn't thorough and the underground conditions turn out to be way different from expectations, your cost will shift instantly. And fourth, the often forgotten permits and neighbor coordination. This one is particularly prevalent and costly for open excavation in shared areas.
Finally, Section 6, getting apples-to-apples estimates. To protect your wallet from those nasty budget busters, you need a highly practical buyer's guide for securing an accurate, honest quote from plumbing contractors. When you're looking at multiple quotes side by side, demand that every single one of these steps is spelled out clearly. You need the exact footage and segment limits of the repair. You need the pipe size, the material, and the specific camera findings they use to diagnose it. Most importantly, demand clear restoration deliverables. What exactly gets repaired, to what standard, and who is paying for it. Finally, get a firm timeline and a disruption plan. If a proposal leaves out resurfacing or traffic control, you'll spot it immediately if you use this checklist. You can actually empower yourself right from the get-go here. Don't just sit back and wait for the contractor to guess. Hand them the facts up front. Tell them your approximate pipe length, the diameter, whether it's a public or private line, and your exact symptoms, whether that's a backup, a leak, root intrusion, or a suspected collapse. Doing this instantly narrows down a realistic budget range, and it signals to the contractor that you are a highly informed customer who isn't going to be easily fooled by incomplete, lowball bids. Because at the end of the day, honestly, a cheap pipe fix is completely useless if it leaves you holding a $10,000 landscaping bill, right? So before you sign off on any major sewer work, look at your quotes and ask yourself one final critical question. Is your lowest bid secretly hiding the highest restoration cost?